Newsfirst at 9. Headlines.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Florine Rajendran and these are your headlines. Public interest litigation filed at the Indian Supreme Court citing the direct involvement of Indian military during the final stages of the war in Sri Lanka withdrawn. Sri Lanka has fortunately ended its civil war, though reconciliation has proved challenging. A statement by the United States. Captain and crew of the sunken South Korean ferry have been accused of abandoning their passengers. Let's now cross over to the main news desk for these stories and much more.
Thank you very much, Florine, for bringing us the headlines. A very good evening. You're watching Primetime News live here on Newsfirst. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
Hello there and welcome. I'm Nadim Majid. Let's start off with a look at your developing story for tonight.
The public interest litigation that was filed at the Indian Supreme Court claiming direct Indian military involvement during the final stages of the war in Sri Lanka was withdrawn today. The Secretary of the Delhi Tamil Advocates Association, who filed the PIL, requested that the deployment of Indian forces to a foreign country without parliamentary approval be investigated. However, the Indian Apex Court has informed the petitioner that it cannot issue an order on the Indian Army.
The PIL, citing eyewitness evidence and an international probe, says that a Sikh officer was commanding Indian forces in Sri Lanka in 2009. The public interest litigation filed last week was taken up today by the Indian Supreme Court.
உச்சநீதிமன்றத்தில் நான் இந்திய ராணுவம் மீது தொடர்ந்த வழக்கு சம்பந்தமான வழக்கு இன்று விசாரணைக்கு வந்தது.
The Supreme Court today took into consideration the public interest litigation that I filed against the Indian military. It was taken up before Justices R.M. Lodha and Kurian Joseph. The PIL was discussed extensively and they expressed their disappointment over the deaths of Tamil people. They said that the judiciary cannot conduct an investigation over this matter. However, we presented the report by the global body over this matter. They told me that they will not underestimate the facts that I have presented. They informed me that the petition was an interesting one. Court informed me that it cannot make a direct order to the Indian Army based on this petition and requested me to make a presentation to the Indian central government. I thereby withdrew my public interest litigation. I believe that the Indian central government will appoint a team to investigate the facts in the report once I put it to them. If they do not, I will seek legal assistance once again.
Meanwhile, journalists raised this issue with Army spokesperson Brigadier Ruwan Wanigasurya at a media briefing convened this morning.
I do not think that we need to answer on whether they were here or not. The military relationship between India and Sri Lanka is a strong one. If you take into consideration the present context, there are Indian military personnel in Sri Lanka. They are receiving training at training centers. There are Sri Lankan military personnel 10 times of that amount in training facilities in India. This situation did exist during the time when the humanitarian operation was taking place. I do not know who was here and who was not here. Because there is a legal process underway, I cannot comment on this. After the completion of this legal process, you will receive an answer.
Do you mean that the Indian Army was involved during this time period?
They were actively involved from 1987 to 1990. Because the matter had been filed in court during the period of the final stages of the war, I do not think it is wise for me to comment on a specific case.
However, the then Army commander says there was no participation by them.
The then Army commander is not in the army anymore. I am not accepting or denying the statement he made. I cannot comment in an official capacity.
This is not a matter in the Sri Lankan courts, Brigadier. However, statements were made on a previous occasion on legal processes undertaken in the European countries. I believe that since this is not a domestic legal process, you can make a comment.
Are you an attorney? I'm sorry, I cannot make comments without advice from an attorney.
The Secretary of Defence and Urban Development, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, addressed the 14th Defence Services Asia Exhibition and Conference in Malaysia yesterday. The DSA is one of the top 5 defence shows in the world. The Secretary of Defence addressed the gathering on the topic, the influence of non-state actors and their impact on global security.
Speaking on Sri Lanka's experience in dealing with terrorism, Secretary of Defence said that much can be learnt from Sri Lanka's experience with non-state actors and the LTTE as a non-state actor of great power which posed an extreme threat to the country until its defeat in May 2009 through a military operation launched by the government. He added that the LTTE raised funds through carefully orchestrated propaganda campaign, coercion, extortion and through organised illegal activities including fraud, drug trafficking and people smuggling. He went on to state that a non-state actor can mobilize, maintain and successfully utilize a global network to strengthen and sustain terrorist activities in a sovereign nation is a matter of very serious concern both locally and globally. The Secretary of Defence said even today, terrorist remnants continues to sustain an international propaganda campaign against Sri Lanka through front organizations that have now put on a democratic face. Secretary of Defence Gotabaya Rajapaksa stressed on the need for effective sharing of intelligence between countries, increased coordination between law enforcement agencies and the relevant government departments, and the establishment of bilateral and multilateral mechanisms to combat these issues cooperatively. In conclusion, he said that upholding national, regional and global security is a tremendous responsibility and adequate safeguards are required to curb the threats posed by various non-state actors.
In its remarks on foreign policy in South Asia, the US State Department says that despite Sri Lanka being fortunate to end its civil war, reconciliation has proved challenging. In a statement on foreign policy, US Assistant Secretary of State of the Bureau of South and Central Asian Affairs, Nisha Desai Biswal, says following the March UN Human Rights Council resolution on Sri Lanka, the US continues to call for credible efforts to ensure accountability and justice. She adds that the United States looks forward to a resumption of more comprehensive military relationship once the government of Sri Lanka has made better progress towards reconciliation and accountability. Meanwhile, journalists posed questions on the statement made by the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State to Army spokesperson Brigadier Ruwan Wanigasurya at a press conference held today.
Reconciliation is a political matter. We have created an environment for reconciliation to take place. Reconciliation cannot take place overnight. I do not know whether she has received proper information on reconciliation. Of around 12,000 terrorists who were rehabilitated, only about 60 remain. Most of the rehabilitated persons have been reintegrated into society. We are pleased to say that during the operations conducted over the recent past, we only arrested 3 of the 12,000 who had fallen back into their past ways. That clearly indicates that the rehabilitation process is a success.
Is it the 3 who were killed? We were under the impression that it was them.
What I said was, some may be in custody and some may not. The 3 persons in question did not receive any rehabilitation. We made it clear previously as well.
Yeah.
44 were arrested from the 5th of March. They were arrested for having links with terrorism after 2009 and are being detained by the TID. They have committed crimes in this country like murder, theft, terrorist activity and had set off bombs and had fled the country. They were either arrested at the airport or were arrested while in hiding after the war. They will not receive any clemency. If they have done wrong, we will take action. If they are only members, then they are rehabilitated.
Sri Lanka has been ranked 4th in the 2014 Global Impunity Index by the Committee to Protect Journalists, or CPJ. The CPJ's 2014 Global Impunity Index spotlights countries where journalists are slain and the killers go free.
According to the index, although Sri Lanka's civil war ended nearly 5 years ago, the government of Sri Lanka has shown no will to address its record in perfect impunity in the 9 murders of journalists that have taken place under the present regime. The index adds that government and military officials are suspected to be behind several of the murders, including the 2009 assassination of prominent editor Lasantha Vikramatunga, known for his critical reporting, and the nearly 10-year-old shooting of Ayiture Nadesan, an award-winning journalist who was threatened before his death. The 2014 Impunity Index by CPJ adds that impunity in Sri Lanka is a major factor behind high numbers of journalists going to exile. Sri Lanka was ranked 4th in the index last year as well.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa has expressed his condolences to the victims of the South Korea ferry disaster, their families and the people of South Korea. The presidential media unit said the president had conveyed his condolences in a letter addressed to the president of South Korea. Meanwhile, emergency services are continuing to search for nearly 300 people missing after a ferry carrying more than 470 people sank off South Korea. Officials say 179 people have been rescued. Most of the passengers were students from the same high school.
Bad weather and strong currents have hampered military divers' efforts to enter the ship, where it is thought many were trapped. At least 9 people are confirmed to have died, with dozens more injured. The vessel was travelling from the Licheon port in the northwest to the southern resort island of Jeonju. It is not known why the 6,586-ton vessel built in Japan 20 years ago sank. According to a Coast Guard official in Jindo, the waters where the ferry capsized have some strongest tides off South Korea's coast, meaning divers were prevented from entering the mostly submerged ship for several hours. Reuters released a video today of a 6-year-old girl who was rescued from the sunken ferry of South Korea, but her parents remaining missing. Kwang Jung-yong, who was separated from her family during the ferry sinking, was treated in a hospital in Mokpo, near the coastal city of Jindo. South Korean President Park Geun-hye visited the site where a ferry sank off South Korea's southern coast as Coast Guard continues search operations for about 290 missing people. In the video, Park observed search operations on a boat and was briefed by a Coast Guard officer. The captain of the sunken South Korean ferry apologized to families of the victims and those missing as the Coast Guard investigates him. Witnesses told Korean media that the captain of the vessel, who is now being held by police, was one of the first to leave the stricken vessel.
In more local news, President Mahinda Rajapaksa paid homage to the sacred tooth relic today.
The president arrived at the temple of the sacred tooth relic in Kandy this morning. The president then visited the chief prelate of the Malvatu chapter of the Siam sect, the most venerable Tibbatu Sri Sumangala Thera, at the Malvatu Mahaviharaya. The president also visited the chief prelate of the Askiri chapter of the Siam sect, the most venerable Udugama Sri Buddha Rakita Thera, at the Askiri Mahaviharaya. The chief prelates presented the president with a public document containing guidelines on the publishing of images of Lord Buddha in the print media. The president informed the chief prelates that he would discuss the matter with the heads of media institutions. Subsequently, the president visited the Rajapavarana Ramaya Vihari in Gatambe and received blessings from the chief incumbent, Venerable Kappetiyagoda Sirivimala Thera.
A media briefing was convened in Colombo today over allegations that a settlement is being constructed in the northern sanctuary of the Wilpattu Reserve.
It cannot be proven that there has been deforestation in the Wilpattu Reserve. Such a thing has not happened. It is a baseless lie. They say that 2,000 homes have been built without deeds, but that too is false. Not even one house has been built inside Wilpattu. 300 homes were built by an NGO, not by me.
The cabinet has decided to suspend the distribution of lands in the northern and eastern provinces, and now the Department of Wildlife Conservation has approved the construction of homes in this land.
According to the recommendations of the LLRC, a committee appointed by the president decided to grant these lands.
You said you have no involvement in the construction of the homes, but you have signed agreements with this person known as Cha Singh.
What I meant when I said I was not involved was that the homes were built by the NGO. The homes were built by the NGO and the divisional secretary distributed the lands. It is the divisional secretary that decides who to give the lands to. The PTF grants approval for the NGO to build homes in Sri Lanka. It has been done in keeping with procedure. I did not build homes and neither did I distribute homes among the people.
You have signed an agreement with this person.
Not only with this person but with several other NGOs. If there are NGOs that are willing to come to this country and build homes for the homeless while following the law of the country, then we will assist them.
විල්පත්තු අබේභූමියේ නිවාස හැදීම් ප්‍රශ්නයට
3 or 4 months have passed since the issue of houses being constructed in the Vilpattu Reserve arose. The government has as yet failed to give a proper response. If the minister is saying that he was not the one that built these homes, then the government has a responsibility to find out who did and hold them accountable. If they do not, this could escalate into another ethno-religious problem. It has already come to that. The government must intervene immediately and resolve this issue. Who built it? How did they build it? Did they get the legitimate approvals? If not, how was it that permission was given for construction inside a sanctuary? The government must inform the people of this country on this matter.
Differing views are being expressed regarding the death of a youth whose body was discovered in the Maoya several days after he left home to attend a concert in Alawa. The young man's family maintains that the circumstances of his demise are suspicious.
Body of 26-year-old Amit Pethum Chandrasena, a resident of Mayam Nolu in Varakapola, was discovered on the 14th of this month in the Maoya. He had left home on the 12th to attend a concert in the Bolon area, accompanied by a friend. Family members allege that they have received information that a brawl had broken out at this concert.
There was an incident during the concert when he crept through a fence adjacent to where the concert was being held. The owner of the home there had asked him where he was going. My brother's friend had left through the other side of the fence. He had crept through the fence and had turned up in front of the house. The man at that house had been hit with a stone and he had shouted out for people to catch him. However, my brother's friend says he did not see any incident beyond that.
What exactly happened to Amit following this remains vague.
A person who resides there said that someone who had the same build as my brother and was wearing the same t-shirt was beaten by 2 police officers at about 2 a.m. and then put on a bus and taken towards the police station. He said the same story on both days.
2 days after he was reported missing, Amit's lifeless body was discovered about 200 meters away from where the concert was held in the Maoya.
The water levels of the Maoya in the Koholana area are quite low at present. It is only about 1.5 feet deep. The body of Amit Pathum was discovered several days ago at this precise location. The water levels of the river are not high enough for the body to float away. There was only about 1.5 feet of water. He did not have any enemies and he did not have any illness. He was not mentally ill, so we have a suspicion as to the circumstances of his death.
The family of the deceased also claims that when they went to lodge a complaint regarding Amit's disappearance on the 13th of this month, police officers were lethargic in noting down the complaint.
We were there from about 3:30 till about 8:30 and the police didn't take any action. When we finally lodged a complaint, it was about 10 o'clock at night. The police did not even seem to want to record the complaint. When we told the police, let's go and look for him, they said let's try the river. The OIC of the crime kept telling us to look in the river and in streams. So we are suspicious. According to the report of the doctor who conducted the post-mortem examination, the cause of death has not been determined. He has asked to send parts of the body to the government analyst. Nevertheless, if the family has evidence that the police assaulted the deceased, then they can present it to the magisterial inquest, which is still underway. They can also present evidence to the senior DIG of police in the Northwestern province. According to what the officer in charge told me, there was no assault. But if there is evidence presented, we will investigate.
And on to politics. Susil Kindalpitiya has been appointed Group Leader of the Democratic Party in the Western Provincial Council. The General Secretary of the party, Anand Manawadu, said that this decision was reached after taking several factors into consideration.
We have several reasons to appoint Susil Kindalpitiya. The first reason is that he won a majority of votes in the polls, and the second reason is that we see him as a politician who could render his service at a national level. We appointed him because we see him as a politician with a good educational background and a good future. He works for the party with a lot of dedication. He has a sound knowledge of national issues. We appointed him to the post taking those factors into consideration. I am delighted over this opportunity. Many are aware of my political history. I contested for the general election, represented the United National Party on a prior occasion. I was arrested thereafter. That party never took care of me following the incident. I was able to overcome that situation due to the helping hand given to me by several people from my workplace. With the help and blessing given to me and an invitation extended to me by party leader Sarath Fonseca, I was able to contest the recently concluded provincial council polls. I know if I had remained in the same place as before, I wouldn't be where I am now. Under the leadership of General Sarath Fonseca, I will employ this opportunity to be a voice of opposition within the provincial council and to challenge the governing body to find solutions to the problems faced by the people.
In business news tonight, Senior Minister for International Monetary Cooperation Dr. Sarath Amunugama says that the return of stability to economies in the United States and European countries creates a better environment for Sri Lankan exports. The minister made this comment upon his return to the island today after attending the annual session of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank in Washington, D.C., USA.
There was a review of the global economic trends. One clear sign is that there is a pickup, a recovery in the American and European economies, which was not the case some years back. They are coming out of the downturn, and this is good news for Sri Lanka because that will expand the market for our textiles, for tea and all our products. That is the good sign. The growth in the global economy will be to our benefit. Then secondly, China is also revising its economic policies because there has been a lot of internal lending, a lot of shadow banking in that country and a lot of the non-performing loans internally. So they are looking into that, and it is anticipated that the growth figures for China will come down a little bit.
Newsfirst U reporters Pradeep Ranasinghe and Vijay Singh Valikanda filed these reports.
An elephant carcass has been found in the Namal area in Nagampa, Kakirawa. The area residents say the elephant had died several days ago on the elephant's body. It took place last night in the Kurunagal area when a vehicle veered off the road and fell into a drain. The accident had taken place when the vehicle was travelling towards Kurunagal. The vehicle was severely damaged.
Swarms of Indians, including politicos and candidates, throng polling booths on the busiest day of the general elections to cast their votes as the world's largest democracy gears up to conduct the fifth phase of polling in 12 states across the country. India kicked off the biggest day of its mammoth general election as a quarter of its 815 million voters headed to the polls in 12 states.
India's Oil Minister and Congress member Veerappa Moily was thrilled by the voter turnout at the polling booth and was confident of a win.
I'm quite excited over this. Last time also I got the highest number of votes among all the Congress candidates in Karnataka. So there is a exuberance and confidence among all the Congress workers of all cadres that and also among the electorate that they will vote with me with the maximum and votes, and also I will win absolutely with absolute majority.
Today the parliamentary exercise crosses the halfway mark, with 121 constituencies casting their ballot in the politically important states of Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra and West Bengal, the Maoist-hit Red Corridor of Bihar, Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand, the Himalayan state of Jammu and Kashmir to the sand dunes of Rajasthan. The election has turned into a face-off between Rahul Gandhi, best known of his famous last name, and Narendra Modi, who has been lauded by Indian corporate leaders and foreign companies for his business-friendly policies and his Gujarat model. Indian elections are hard to predict. However, due to the country's diverse electorate and a parliamentary system in which local candidates hold great sway, voting in the world's most populous democracy, where about 815 million people are expected to cast their votes, is phased over several weeks, ending on the 12th of May.
The group of United National Party parliamentarians who were engaged in an observation tour of the Makkala International Airport and the Hambantota port came under heavy scrutiny today.
Parliamentarians Ajit P. Pereira, Ajit Mana Peruma, Iran Vikramaratne and Nalin Bandara engaged in an observation tour of the Mattala International Airport. A group of individuals who arrived at the scene protested the MP's visit. The MPs who evacuated the airport subsequently visited the Hambantota port. Here too, a group of individuals protested the visit of the UNP MPs. Subsequently, the mayor arrived at the scene and attempted to ensure the safe passage of the MPs out of the harbour. At the entrance of the harbour premises, the group of individuals in question heavily protested the MP's visit. The MPs left the premises, charging that the police headquarters will be notified regarding the incident today. We will lodge a complaint at the police headquarters. No justice can be sought after at a police station in Hambantota. We called the DIG once the incident unfolded. We also informed the person in charge of the area. We didn't have security here. How can we expect justice? We will lodge a complaint at the police headquarters in Colombo.
Meanwhile, speaking to Newsfirst, the mayor of Hambantota said that it was the residents of Hambantota who had organized the protest. He further said that residents have been benefited from the airport as well as the harbour that have been established in the area.
On to sports news. The Sri Lanka national blind cricket team entered the record books today when they defeated the Australian national blind cricket team for the first time ever in Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan team won the game by 40 runs.
The series of 5 one-day internationals between the national blind cricket teams between Sri Lanka and Australia commenced today at the Pallekele International Cricket Stadium. Sri Lankan captain Chandana Surya-Rachi, who won the toss, invited the Australians to bat first. The Australian national blind cricket team posted 316 runs for the loss of 7 wickets in their 40 overs, with Lindsay Heaven top scoring with 86 runs. Chandana Surya-Rachi and D. Chandimal shared 2 wickets each. Chasing a target of 317 runs to win, the Sri Lankan national blind cricket team reached the target in 32 overs, losing only 3 wickets. Saman Kumar scored an unbeaten 114 runs while Ruan Vasantha posted 59 runs. The next match of the series will be played in Galle on Saturday.
Well, that brings an end to tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
And I'm Nadim Majid, reminding you that you can keep abreast of all the stories we're following here at News First by logging on to our website www.newsfirst.lk. We leave you tonight with a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Good night and good luck.
Hotline 0114-896-896. www.newsfirst.lk. Feedback at newsfirst.lk.